coming up, is it any chance for explosion?
Any,
Any chance for explosion or?
in the sinkhole, up until the 19th, I would have said there's a reasonable probability. What we saw on the 19th, even though we saw a lot of fluid movement and we don't know exactly how much gas, we think the sand and gravel down there would break up any big methane bubble to prevent an explosive type thing. Because to get a methane explosion, you got to get the whole volume of gas up into the atmosphere, mix it with oxygen, and then it could do something.
I know if it's all out in the woods coming up, could they pocket up the woods?
We have our field instruments out there. We have not detected anything. It's called the lower explosive limit. We have not detected anything. Our people are monitoring it. The good thing is methane is very light gas, so when it comes into the atmosphere, it goes straight up.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question.
Okay. Answer this, okay, in your best guess estimate. If you get into our neighborhood and you put 30 wells or 50 wells to vent this gas over to be flared, do you have an estimate on how much time, this is after the 3D gives you the information as to where this gas pocket is or pockets? You have a good estimate on how long it would take to vent all of this gas to be flared?
In the community or overall?
In the community. Are we talking about 3 months later, or 6 months, or a year?
I'm going to couch that. I think we can get the pressures down in the aquifer in probably 3 to 6 months. Okay?
3 to 6 months, so we've got 3 months before the 3D.
No, we're putting, well, they're putting in vent wells right now.
Right.
We can put vent, we don't need 3D to put in vent wells. Okay? 3 to 6 months to get the pressure in the aquifer down. What I can't answer you yet is when will the pressure in the clay overlying the aquifer, when is that going to start decreasing also? We've still got pressure in a lot of those geoprobe wells. Right now, I can't give you an answer on that, how long it's going to take for that to decrease to where your yards aren't bubbling, where it's not coming up around the anchors and that kind of stuff. I don't have an answer for that. But from the ORW12, it's going to take at least 3 months to see a good pressure drop. Now, that's somewhat dependent on how many wells we put in. The more wells, the faster it would go. That's kind of where we're at.
So this could be quite a long time before this even starts. And if it's much larger, it could be even longer.
Well, the good thing is, if we can get vent wells in those areas, we can control it, okay? And the idea is eventually, depending on what we see, is a line of wells like along the rig road. In the long term here is measured in months, at least. You can control any gas going towards the community with a line of wells along the rig road. What we've got to do before that can have a positive effect is get the pressures down below the community. That's kind of where we're at. We're looking at months. There's no question about that. We're learning as we go. We've been flaring out there for about 3 months. We are seeing a very positive effect of the few wells that have been flaring. We need a whole lot more wells.
Sir, this gentleman over here said, he mentioned about the 370 feet between Oxy 3 and Oxy 2. When we take this 3D seismic, you'll get slices through to see exactly what Oxy 3 looks like if it bowed out on the eastern side due to all this violent activity of the cave-ins.
Don?
Yes, you should. You'll be able to see a lot of detail. You'll be able to see vertical slices, horizontal slices, and be able to pick this apart down to very, very few cubic feet at a time. And be able to see what the outside layer of that salt looks like in the instant that we take that snapshot. And we're gonna see this 3D in an instant of time.
So that border they have right now, where it does go past the Oxy 3 and Oxy 2, so you'll be able to see the whole picture, correct?
They have sources and receivers on the surface that should be able to give us some idea of internal to the dome, but most of the 3D will be seeing the face and external. And we'll be able to see the changes in the face of that salt.
We know what salt caverns look like. We've got all the sonars. The 3D picture I showed you up there,
Right. But we don't know what Oxy 3 looks like, because you can't get a sonar down there.
right, all we can do is sonar the top of it.
Right.
The 3D seismic's gonna give us an idea of what that failed rock column and everything around it looks like.
What are the health implications of having all the vent wells going for, maybe 6 months if you don't deplete the wells?
As long as we're flaring through a stack, the health impacts of that are, hate to say zero, but they're essentially zero because it's burning. Methane is natural gas that you cook with. We are, related to that though, we are continuously monitoring for hydrogen sulfide. I didn't talk about it tonight, but that's part of the monitoring that goes on is hydrogen sulfide. Because if we started seeing much hydrogen sulfide, it would be a somewhat different
And
story.
what's gonna happen if you don't get these vent wells? What's gonna happen to the subdivisions and the land? If you can't burn the gas on?
If we can't vent the gas, it's gonna still be coming up in your yards and around the utility poles and everything else. You're still gonna have pressure there for a fair amount of time that's gonna be feeding that.
So can we still live there?
Right now, until we get the gas pressures down, I am not gonna advise that the evacuation order be changed. We've gotta get the pressure down first.
Yeah.
Then we'll take the next step.
All right. In the event that they decide somewhere down the road, we cannot resolve this problem, this gas is gonna continue to come. Is there a deadline where they're gonna say, well, we gotta do something with all the residents and they will either buy them out or something's gotta be done? Is there a deadline for that?
No,
No deadline.
not that I'm aware of.
Guys, I appreciate your whole budget, and I appreciate the information we got tonight. But this business of putting these wells all through the subdivision, I don't see that as realistic or practical. And I think the whole group here would say, if you put it in front of my yard, then I can't get out of my front. If you put it in the back, I can't get in the canal. And those lots are not 90 feet deep. And if you put those in that slope back behind there, that's not gonna 180 feet, 250 feet, and did I understand you to say that it's a 500-foot diameter that this thing will vent from?
Part of the reason I'm here is to listen to you, okay? And what I'm hearing is we need to take a serious look at what we can do around the outside edges. It'll go faster if I can put some in the middle, but I'm hearing you that I know.
Well, and especially in light of the fact that these things are gonna have to stay there. We're not gonna get this gas and dismantle them. They're gonna be there forever. Nobody's gonna want that pipe in their yard. And nobody's gonna wanna have that pipe running down the street. So, let's do something that makes sense in our proposal, as well as get rid of the gas. I think we all agree that we need to get rid of the gas. But I think common sense gotta prevail there somewhere.
I am here to listen to you, and that is a very good point, and I can assure you that issue is going to be discussed on how to deal with the gas in the community. I hear you loud and clear, no question about that.
What's the service area to collapse in those shows? At the surface?
Oh. I think it's probably around 12 acres, somewhere in that area. The modeling that produced it's being revised, but the area that was on Dr. Pettit's slide, the pink area, I think it's somewhere around, it's either 12 or 13 acres.
How big a circle is that? What's the diameter of that circle?
It's, a while back I told you about 1,500 foot is the area I estimated. Believe it or not, I didn't fudge the number. It's about 1,500 feet. And that is,
I thought 1,500 feet is more like 40 or 50 acres. I can't do the math, but you ought to give me.
the pink area, I can get you, if you want, an exact,
You think it's 1,500 feet?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the diameter of that pink area on that map I showed is about 1,000 feet.
All right.
Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
When y'all said, y'all gonna get 3D seismic and April 21st?
That's the current timeline.
How long is it gonna take for the interpretation?
Don?
I couldn't hear the refrigerators.
How long is it gonna take to read the seismic after y'all finish getting the
You
data?
don't get it, how long?
How long is it going to be after April 21st until we get an interpretation of the data set? If they record the data.
Well, the interpretation will start immediately once we get this data. I know it seems like a large area to y'all, but 2 square miles when we process that data can go very quickly. And so we should be able to understand and get a picture of that data by the time, I think Kevin Hill mentioned, by the time we get that data to Covington to Dan Todd and Associates office, we should be able to understand at least conceptually within the first few days.
When do we get it?
As soon as I can get a hold of the data and interpret, I'll be delivering it to y'all and telling you what I see.
Thank you.
Okay, somebody challenged me to calculate it. It came out to 18 acres for a 1,000-foot circle. Okay.
Mike?
Yeah, one question. We got technology to drill sideways. Do we have technologies to go that shallow and drill sideways? In other words, put a well out in the Lugano property, and come underneath where we can perforate several areas and not have to put so many vent wells in the neighborhood?
The technology's there. I just finished a project in California before I came down here where we put in 4 wells at a depth of between 80 and 100 feet vertical depth.
And that's the answer.
And yeah, there's logistics with doing that though, because you have to have a good area to be able to pull your casing and stuff, but that's certainly, the technology is out there with borehole navigation now. We had a target interval 5 feet thick, which is about what we're looking at for the gas here, and the maximum off target we were was about 1 foot. The borehole navigation allows you to be very precise, so that certainly is an option.
Is it a viable option? Is it cost effective? And we don't want those in our neighborhood. The 15 or 20 vent wells that you're talking about, if for the people that are eventually going to be either forced to stay there or decide to stay there. And I say forced, meaning that if the evacuation is ever lifted, then basically they got to come back to their house, or else they're shot. So will that be brought to their attention? Maybe that's a question that needs to be directed to Mr. Welch. Is he here?